You know, I was thinking recently about how difficult human beings are to explain. Seriously, have you ever noticed how we can be incredibly strong in one area of our lives and deeply sensitive in another? Or how we can walk into work smiling whilst carrying something heavy internally that nobody else knows about? Or how we can love people deeply and still struggle to say what we really feel? Humans are fascinating that way. We are emotional. We're logical, resilient, awkward, kind, confused, loving, and guarded. And all that before lunch. And the older I get, the more I realize that most people are carrying far more than they let the world see. Some people are carrying pressure, grief, anxiety. Some are carrying loneliness or carrying expectations they never asked for. And yet, people still get up. They still go to work. They still care about their families or check in on their friends. Or they still try to be good to each other. That says something beautiful about humanity to me. You know, over the years, through life or through pain, through leadership, through conversations with people from all different walks of life, I've learned something. Most people are not looking for someone to fix them. Most people just want to feel understood or respected or seen or even valued. And honestly, I think we forget sometimes just how human all of us really are. We compare ourselves to filtered lives online. We think we're supposed to always have the answers, or always be okay, or always have it together. And that's not real life. Real life is complicated. Real life is people trying, learning, healing, messing up, or growing, or trying again. So today, I just want to have a real conversation about us. Not the polished version, not the performance, just human beings. Because humans, we are incredibly complex. But despite everything, there is still so much beauty in us. Are you ready? I am. I'm Jonah. I'm your person. Let's get to it. Welcome back, everybody. To all of you listening around the world right now, whether you're driving to work, laying in bed, cleaning the house, walking outside, sitting in traffic, like I did most of yesterday, or at the gym, or maybe just needing a quiet moment to yourself today, I'm really glad you're here. And honestly, I think today's conversation is one that almost every human being can relate to in some way. Because the truth is, most people are carrying far more than we realize. Have you ever looked at somebody and thought, wow, they seem totally fine, or they've really got it together, and then later find out that they were struggling with something heavy the entire time? Yeah, that happens more than we think. Some people are carrying financial pressure, or carrying grief, carrying anxiety that they hide incredibly well. Some are trying to raise children whilst trying to figure themselves out at the same time. Some are exhausted or lonely. Some are silently fighting battles they don't even know how to explain to other people yet. And still, they show up. That part always amazes me every time about humanity. You know, over the years, I've met people from all different backgrounds, through life, through work, varying backs of life, different personalities, different stories, different struggles. And one thing that I've learned is this: you truly never know what somebody had to overcome just to make it through to today. That cashier smiling at you, the nurse working a double shift, that person cracking jokes in a group chat, that parent trying to hold it together in a grocery store whilst all the while fighting their own battles. People are carrying a lot of things. And sometimes the strongest people you know are simply the people who kept going quietly, not loudly, not publicly, and not for attention. Just quietly. And honestly, there's something incredibly beautiful about that kind of strength. The kind that keeps loving, keeps trying, keeps hoping, even when life gets heavy. And yet, even with all that weight, humans still somehow find ways to laugh, build, dream, create memories, and then care about each other. Now, let's talk about something else that makes human beings so fascinating. You know what's interesting about human beings? We are full of contradictions. Seriously, we can want people to check in on us whilst at the same time wanting to be left alone. We can crave peace and still create stress for ourselves by overthinking everything at 2 a.m. We can know exactly what advice we would give somebody else and still struggle to follow it ourselves. And let's be honest for a second. Have you ever had one of those days where you felt completely confident in the morning and then one awkward interaction changed the entire mood for an hour? Yup. Human beings are wild. But I think part of becoming more emotionally mature is realizing that contradiction does not make us weak. It makes us human. Sometimes we're healing and still hurting. Sometimes we are grateful and still tired. Sometimes we are growing and still figuring things out at the same time. That's real life. And I think social media has confused a lot of people into believing that humans are supposed to be emotionally consistent all the time. Thing is, we're not robots. Some days we feel motivated. Some days we just don't. Some days we feel connected to ourselves, and other days we feel uncertain, distracted, emotional, or overwhelmed. That doesn't erase your growth. It just means you're living in an actual human experience. And honestly, I've learned something over time. The people who seem the strongest emotionally are usually not the people who never struggle. They're the people who learned not to hate themselves during difficult moments. That's a completely different level of strength. Because beating up on yourself every time you have a hard day, every time you feel emotional, or every time you don't have all the answers, that becomes exhausting. You are allowed to still be learning yourself. You are allowed to have moments where you need rest, moments where you need clarity, or moments where you still need support. And you can still be worthy of love, respect, kindness, and understanding whilst you still figure life out. And honestly, maybe growth is not becoming less emotional. Maybe growth is becoming more understanding with yourself and with other people too. Now, let's stay there for a moment because I think that connects directly to something all human beings are searching for. You know, when you really stop to think about it, human beings spend a lot of time searching for meaning, direction, peace, searching for connection, or searching where they fit in. And the interesting part is, no matter how different people look on the outside, most of us are asking very similar questions internally. Questions like, am I doing okay in life? Do people actually understand me? Am I where I'm supposed to be? Does what I do matter? What things get better? Will things get better? Do I belong somewhere? I think about that sometimes when I'm out traveling or just sitting somewhere quietly watching people. Everybody has a story. Everybody. That person rushing through the airport, the older couple sitting at dinner, that teenager trying to figure out who they are, the exhausted parent, that person laughing with friends. Every single human being is trying to navigate life in their own way. And honestly, I think that realization should make us a little bit kinder to each other. Not fake nice, not passive, not letting people walk all over us, just more aware. Because sometimes people don't need a speech. Sometimes they don't need advice. Sometimes they just need patience, or they just need somebody to listen. And sometimes they just need to feel seen for a second. And I'll tell you something else I've noticed over the years. A lot of people are quietly carrying the feeling that they somehow are behind in life, behind financially, emotionally, or professionally, or behind socially or spiritually. Meanwhile, everybody else is secretly thinking the exact same thing. Human beings compare their internal struggles to everybody else's highlight reel all the time. And that creates a lot of unnecessary pressure. life is not a race happening on the one timeline. Some people bloom early, some later, some rebuild entirely, and some discover themselves multiple times throughout life. That's part of being human too. And honestly, I think one of the healthiest things we can remember is this. Most people are not expecting us to have all the answers. They just want us to be real. And that's exactly why kindness matters more than sometimes we realize. Now let's talk about something beautiful that I think gets overlooked way too often. You know what I think is interesting? A lot of people look for proof that humanity is good in huge moments, like big headlines or speeches, or big movements or big viral stories. But honestly, I think some of the most beautiful parts of humanity happen in moments most people never even notice. The person who holds the door open for somebody carrying too much. The friend who sends a text, "Hey, just checking in on you." The nurse working another long shift while still finding energy to comfort somebody else. Teachers showing up every day trying to help kids believe in themselves. Or parents sacrificing quietly without expecting applause. Or that stranger who smiles at somebody that clearly looks like they're having a rough day. That stuff matters. And I think we overlook it because we've become so used to loudness. But humanity is not held together by loud people alone. It's held together by ordinary people doing thoughtful things consistently. And honestly, I've seen this a lot throughout my life. I've seen people going through incredibly difficult seasons still somehow show kindness to other people. That always stays with me because it reminds me that strength is not always loud. Sometimes strength is patience. Sometimes it's compassion. And sometimes it's simply refusing to become cold after life has given you reasons to. And let's be real for a second. The internet can sometimes make it feel like everybody is angry, divided, selfish, or disconnected. But that's not the full picture of humanity. Most people are still trying. Most people still care. And most people still want connection, peace, laughter, love, and meaning in their lives. That's the part I never want us to forget. There is still beauty in people. Not because humans are flawless, but because despite stress, disappointment, pleasure, pressure, and pain, people still choose kindness every single day. And here's your first challenge. Tomorrow, I want you to notice one beautiful human moment that normally you would have rushed right past. Maybe it's a conversation. Maybe it's somebody helping another person. Maybe it's just laughter. Or maybe it's just patience. Just notice it. Because despite all the noise in the world, humanity still has a lot of light in it. And honestly, that brings me to another important part of being human that we don't always talk about enough. Let's get to it. Before we jump into this next part, I just want to say thank you to everybody around the world that continues to support Challenge Accepted with Jonah C. Whether you've been here since season 1 or you just found this podcast recently, thank you for spending part of your life with me every week. Seriously, it means more than you know. And if these conversations helped you in some way, continue sharing the show with people you care about. We're building something really special together. All right, now let's talk about something human beings struggle with a lot. Pain. Not just physical pain, emotional pain. Because if we're being honest, sometimes people hurt other people simply because they're carrying unresolved hurt themselves. Not always intentionally, not always maliciously. Sometimes people are stressed. Sometimes they're insecure, overwhelmed, and sometimes they've never learned healthy ways to communicate frustration, disappointment, fear, or even sadness. And unfortunately, pain that is not understood often spills onto other people. And I think we've all experienced this at some point. Someone snaps at you, and you realize later they were going through something difficult. Or maybe you've had moments where you were short with somebody, distracted, impatient, or even emotionally unavailable because life was weighing heavily on you too. That doesn't excuse harmful behavior. I get that. But I do think understanding human behavior helps us navigate with people with a little bit more wisdom. Because not every difficult person is evil. Sometimes they're just exhausted or wounded, and sometimes they're carrying years of disappointment, fear, or frustration that nobody else can see. And honestly, one of the hardest parts about becoming emotionally mature is learning how not to absorb every negative interaction as a statement about your worth. That takes work. Because human beings project. We misunderstand each other. We communicate poorly sometimes. We assume things. And then we react emotionally. That's part of life. But maybe healing begins when we stop viewing humanity as good people versus bad people all the time. And then we can start realizing that most people are unfinished human beings trying to figure themselves out whilst carrying pain, pressure, responsibility, and emotions all at once. And honestly, I think a little more understanding could change a lot about the way we treat each other. Now, let's talk about something that I think emotionally exhausts a lot of people every single day, including today. You know what I think wears a lot of people out? Feeling like they have to be everything for everybody all the time. The perfect employee, the perfect parent, the perfect friend, the strong one, the dependable one, the calm one, or the successful one, or worse yet, the emotionally available one. Geez, that's exhausting. And I think a lot of human beings are quietly burning themselves out, trying to maintain versions of themselves that were built mostly for survival, or approval, or even acceptance. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to slowly become who everybody else wants you to be, whilst at the same time you're losing touch with yourself in the process? Yeah, that happens to more people than we realize. And honestly, social media has added a strange kind of pressure too. Everybody feels like they're supposed to constantly perform happiness, or success, or confidence, or productivity, or having their life together. Heck, I know I don't always have my life together. There's one thing throughout the week that comes and throws a wrench into the entire week. But that's what these episodes are for. It helps us to prepare. It helps us to be ready. Meanwhile, real life is messier than that sometimes. Sometimes you're confident. Sometimes you're uncertain. Sometimes you feel inspired. Sometimes you just want a quiet day without stress. That's pretty normal. And I think one of the healthiest things a person can learn is this. Not everybody is going to fully understand you. Not everybody is going to agree with you. And not everybody is going to connect with your personality, your energy, or your journey at any given time. And that's okay. Because human beings are not designed to fit perfectly into everybody else's expectations. You do not owe the world a performance. You don't need to have to constantly prove your worth by exhausting yourself emotionally, trying to please every person around you. Honestly, there's something very freeing about reaching a point in life where you stop trying to win approval from people who were never truly trying to understand you in the first place. That doesn't mean you're becoming cold, and it doesn't mean becoming selfish. It means just becoming more honest about who you are. And here's your second challenge. This week, give yourself permission to stop over-explaining yourself to people who have already decided not to understand you. Protect your peace. Protect your time. Protect your energy and protect your identity. Because being human is already complicated enough without carrying the pressure of trying to be everything for everyone. And you know what? That leads perfectly into the final part of today's conversation. Let's get to it. You know, after everything human beings have gone through in life, I think one of the most incredible things about us is that we keep going. People rebuild after loss. People heal after heartbreak, or they adapt after setbacks. People reinvent themselves, and people survive things they once thought would completely break them. And somehow, even after difficult seasons, people still laugh again. They still dream again. They still fall in love again. And they still create memories again. That says something about how powerful human beings are. And honestly, I think we underestimate ourselves sometimes. We focus so much on what's wrong with us that we forget how resilient human beings actually are. As I've often said, we're not perfect, we're not fearless, and we're not emotionless. We are resilient, and there's a difference. Because resilience is not pretending that life doesn't hurt. Resilience is feeling life deeply and continuing anyway. It's the parent who keeps showing up for their children whilst carrying stress nobody sees. It's the person rebuilding their confidence after years of doubting themselves. It's the individual quietly trying to become healthier mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually one day at a time. It's the person choosing kindness after life gave them reasons to become bitter. That matters. And honestly, I think humanity deserves more credit than we give ourselves sometimes. Yes, human beings can be emotional or complicated, confused or impatient, and flawed. But we also are compassionate. We're creative. We adapt through big times and huge troubles. We're thoughtful. We're funny. And we're loving. And after everything humanity has been through across generations, cultures, struggles, wars, heartbreaks, failures, and hardships, people still wake up every day and try again. That's beautiful to me. Not because humans always get it right, but because despite everything, there is still goodness in people, still hope in people, and more importantly, still light in people. And maybe that's one of the most important things we can remember about each other. So today, before we leave this conversation, I want you to remember something. Being human is not about having all the answers. It's not always about getting things right or always feeling strong. And it's certainly not about always knowing exactly where we're going in life. Human beings are layered. We grow, we struggle, we adapt, we learn, and we heal. And yeah, we fall down sometimes. And yes, sometimes we overthink text messages for absolutely no reason at all. That's part of life too. But hopefully today reminded you of something important. There is still beauty in humanity, not only in huge moments, or only in successful stories, or not only in polished versions of ourselves. This is beauty in ordinary people trying their best. Their beauty is in resilience, beauty in kindness, beauty in second chances, beauty in growth, beauty in compassion, and beauty in continuing to move forward even after difficult seasons. And honestly, I think the more we understand that every person we meet is carrying their own invisible story, the gentler we become with each other. And maybe we become gentler with ourselves too. So wherever you are in the world today, I hope you're continuing to give yourself some permission to just be human, to grow, to learn, to rest when you need to laugh more, to love people deeply, and to keep going. Because humanity is not only complex, humanity is beautiful. I want to thank you once again for tuning in and spending part of your day with me. And hey, if you know somebody who could benefit from a conversation like this, share the show with them. For now, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for coming back. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we'll see you next week.